Turn to Damn Nature, You Scary on BET.
Damn, look at that sumbitch go. He hauling ass. That thing come by my house, I kill it. That little rat-looking thing just got ate. Damn, Nature, you scary.
Tower on the beat.
Action News Network is an Aboriginal American media network. As such, we are protected under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, or DRIP, Articles 8, 14, and 16. Action News Network is allowed to provide Aboriginal news and media content on non-Indigenous media platforms free of oppressive censorship. Any breach of this protection is a breach of international law.
Mr. Hernandez, how old are you?
23.
Do you go by any other names?
Yes. Tekashi. Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Approximately when did you start living in federal custody?
November 18, 2018.
What were you arrested for?
Racketeering charges, shootings, drug distribution.
At some point, did you decide to cooperate with the government?
Yes.
At some point, did you decide to cooperate with the government?
Yes.
At some point, did you decide to cooperate with the government?
Yes.
When did that happen?
November 19th, the day after he was taken down.
Were you a member of any gang?
Yes, sir.
What was the name of the gang that you were a member of?
The Trey Bloods. Trey Bloods.
Approximately when did you become a member?
In November of 2017.
What sorts of things did 9 Trey members do?
Violent crimes, robberies, assaults, drugs.
Mr. Hernandez, do you recognize anyone in the courtroom who was a member of 9 Trey when you were a member?
Yes.
And if you can identify that person, could you identify where they're sitting in an article of clothing that that person may be wearing?
Anthony Ellison has a gray suit on. Luke Ajimai Mack has the brown suit on.
I'd like to ask you some questions about your life before 9 Trey. Did you work?
My first job was at the Greenpoint Youth Court. My first job was at the Greenpoint Youth Court. My first job was at the Greenpoint Youth Court. It's a job that handles like misdemeanor cases for youth.
Biff Thurston III, once again holding down Action News Network with a riveting report on the fascinating story of Daniel Hernandez, better known as Tekashi 6ix9ine, the self-proclaimed gangster who associates himself with the 9 Trey Gangsters, a notorious sect of the East Coast Bloods Alliance, a New York City gang with a stronghold of the borough of Brooklyn. It seems young Daniel may have bit off more than he can chew by joining this notorious gang post-stardom. We ask here at Action News Network, did Trey Way, a reputable OG and the 9 Trey Gangsters drop the ball? Did Tekashi pay the 9 Trey for street cred? Even deeper, is Tekashi working for the hip-hop police? Is Tekashi hip-hop's Donnie Brasco? Let's go to your host Action Jack.
Now, you know I had to chime in on this Tekashi 6ix9ine, who represents probably about everything I hate about the late millennial, Generation Z, late 90s babies who have just come to age recently, and is their disdain towards elders, the old school codes that prior to recently held the delicate fabric of the streets of our inner cities together. Now, if you look at the problems Baltimore and Chicago, and you look at the statistics of these cities, you will notice that out of the major black inner cities nationwide, these 2 cities have the youngest demographics with a disproportionate number of youth and young adults, making the bulk populations there something like half, 50% of these cities is between the age of 12 and 25 years old, meaning there's very few middle-aged OGs left to guide the youth. Because of this lack of fathers and mature men on the streets, you have entire gangs of youth raised by single mothers who are running wild and wilding out in these hoods. This has shaped our youth culture as there is a disdain towards anything close to an authority figure, and any sense of pride, honor, even the bond of your word. These kids seem to welcome total anarchy. Fueled by a generation of social media, they are a generation of trolls, not able to defer online personas from real life. And worse, I think they're intertwining both and forgetting where social media ends and real life begins. Now back to 6ix9ine. He is a perfect example of this. His antics seemed from day one to be a major publicity stunt as he trolled hip-hop, calling out rappers, making crazy threats, and even allegedly caught using police protection while pulling off some of these stunts. I have to ask, is he an industry plant? His persona and background suggested he only became a member of the Bloods about 2 years ago as his career started becoming big, booming. Meaning the kid wasn't banging before. It's all publicity. And I'm thinking he's on some Donnie Brasco shit, like he's the Feds or something. Although his age only being 23 seems young to take on such a role, a big role, as Tekashi has become. But I believe Tupac was the Feds too, and Pac was extracted from that role at 25. So you can hate me for saying, that Pac might have been Feds, but there's some funny shit surrounding Pac's life also. And he played a role of a young thug with no street background and claimed gangs only during his music career's peak. Remember when rappers represented the average nigga on the block? They looked like you, talked like you, dressed like they could fit in your crew, and vice versa. More importantly, they told us stories about street life, shit that you was going through, or if not, stuff that you could relate to. When I was growing up, them rock stars from the 80s and 90s looked so ridiculous that you could only be famous or white to walk around with bright hair and tats on your face. In the hood, you don't tat your face up, not if you're about that life and putting in that work. Only lifers, lifer niggas in prison did that shit. How the fuck you dodging the boys, the police with pink dreads like little Uzi Vert, or a giant 6ix9ine on your face? It's all for show, and these kids are too stupid to see that. Then you got niggas that's really surprised that the kid snitch. For real. Like that bitch ass Post Malone, who is a real culture vulture. I know he was a failed country folk singer. And like the industry said, let's tat his face up, give him braids, give him some ghostwriters, and boom, now a white failed country musician is the top hip hop act. They blatantly showed us right then and there who controls hip hop, and damn sure ain't us. Now, being from New York, and I'm pretty sure I'll catch some flack from the keyboard gangsters, I never really understood West Coast gang culture. It always seemed stupid. I'm sorry. New York's a hustling, get money city, not a bummy, this is my neighborhood town. We had major criminal enterprises that I'm not condoning, but they ran like the mafia. Think of CMB, Cash Money Brothers from New Jack City, or Frank White's crew in the King of New York. We get money, live fly. Think of Paid in Full. Don't get it twisted. Colors, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, South Central. Those movies, those are still some of in my top collection and shit. I grew up watching them shits, love them. So I'm not knocking the Bloods and Crips, but in New York, those type of gangs are kind of pointless. They formed in jail in New York City when the Latin Kings dominated the jails because the blacks all came from hundreds of small drug crews and had no unity, so they was easy targets. They created alliances and used a feared and respected name that was popular at the time. Rightfully so, that's what you do when you're trying to establish dominance, even if it's a bluff. But they proved that it wasn't. So I laugh when Cali niggas cry about New York not showing niggas love back then, because it's bullshit. These niggas had to be bumping NWA and watching these movies to be inspired to use Bloods and Crips as their alliance names. When niggas brought these gangs out of jail into the streets in the late 90s, around when I was hitting high school, I didn't want no part of that shit. I rolled with a few small crews and we did our thing with little no heat. Because when you're hustling, the point is not to get caught, not to make your block hot. If you got niggas running around wearing gang uniforms and bucket on the first nigga with the wrong color on, that's gonna fuck up your cash flow. And that's ass backwards. We don't do that in New York. Niggas in New York City who did that type of shit, like repping the colors and shit, they did it for show. Now there wasn't real G's in these sets, don't get it twisted. Real niggas putting in work, but a lot of them niggas were considered clowns and not taken seriously. You're not putting in work, just looking pretty for the show, for the girls. The rival gangs in New York, you don't know who they are, and they like it that way. You dig? Now, some would call 6ix9ine a culture vulture, especially in this ADOS climate. I mean, he's Mexican American, mestizo, mix of Aboriginal, Mongol invader, and the conquistadors. The Mexicans have contributed to hip hop culture, especially in the West Coast. One of my top 10 groups is Cypress Hill, not to mention my time in Texas. I got to meet Baby Batch, who was cool as fuck. Mexicans are our confused cousins, so culture vulture he's not. What he is though, is a mentally disturbed, misguided young man who bit off more than he could chew. And that's if this all isn't just the rules. Now Tekashi's Wikipedia page that changed like 3 times since I began this investigation a week ago. I wish I would have captured the changes, but due to time and space constraints, I couldn't. The little things like, at first he was being listed as being of Puerto Rican and Mexican origin, now just Mexican. And then his parents' story kind of grew, where they come from, their origin. And a traumatic story of him nearly witnessing his father's murder has been added, which if true, may explain the loose, erratic behavior and his acting out this desire to be part of a gang. But I seen Nipsey Hussle's Wikipedia page change about 4 times during the week that he died. See, Tekashi is following a path of trolling for fame that to me and many others may attribute to none other than 50 Cent as the godfather of trolling celebs. I will also say if you go back a little bit farther, his protege, but not protege, but the guy who put him on, Eminem, can be counted as the godfather of trolling, as M had beef with everybody from Moby to Benzino, constantly calling them out on songs and in public. But 50 was the first to use social media as his weapon of choice, similar fashion to what Tekashi does today. 50 released a sex tape of his supposed Rick Ross's wife cheating on him with an associate of 50. 50 used social media to humiliate world championship boxer Floyd Money Mayweather, challenging his ability to read, even at elementary school level. 50 trolls are often funny and very petty, including buying out the first few rows of seats at concerts of artists he's beefing with and leaving them empty to ruin the ambience of their performance. Again, funny, but very fucking petty, but mainly harmless. But I shine a light on 50 not only for his trollish nature compared to 6ix9ine, but 50 also went through a snitching controversy very similar to 6ix9ine. But the difference here is that 50 basically dry snitched, and this was exposed by his high-profile beef back with then rookie rapper and the latest at the time and shortest-lived addition to 50 Cent's G-Unit rap team, The Game. After rumors broke up of a sour relationship between 50 Cent and the new West Coast hype rapper The Game, whose successful album and documentary was released in 2004 on Shady Aftermath G-Unit, which is under Interscope Records, did very well. The two seemed to be a great pair as 2004's summer hit, Hated to Love It, fresh off The Game's debut album, featured 50 Cent, and is today probably one of the dopest rap songs of not just the 2000s, but probably of all time. Yeah, I know I might be stretching a little bit, but it's a dope song. The two had great chemistry, but it seemed to just be for show, as they had real big personas which spilled out when The Game left G-Unit and began a campaign of exposing 50 as a fraud and a snitch, leading to a street DVD that he released that had The Game exposing G-Unit as a clique and 50's street cred. In the video, The Game exposed a song released by 50 Cent in the late 90s prior to his well-publicized shooting called the Ghetto Quran. where the song comes off as 50 paying homage to street hustlers in his South Jamaica, Queens neighborhood. But only one problem. In the song, 50 actually named the real names of these active hustlers and their role in the organization. Also crimes they committed, or what they did. One being the shooter, one being the hustler, one being the cleanup guy, that type of shit. Specifically, the infamous Jamaica Queens based Supreme Team, who's a perfect example of the old school New York get money crews I was talking about. In New York, we get money. I mean, just look at their freshness. No bummy ass colors. This is how niggas who was getting paper dressed. Grown man shit. Alright? If these guys were still out in the streets today, a lot of this shit, like niggas like Tekashi, whether snitch or agent, wouldn't be able to breach a gang like the Trey Gangsters. Alright? 50's Ghetto Quran song was used in a trial that broke up the Supreme Team, putting the leader, the legendary Supreme McGruff, away for life. Many say this led to 50 shooting as a retaliation. And unlike Tekashi, he wasn't recorded in court snitching, so he kind of got a pass on that. He had a few, like an embarrassing year, but dry snitching on a rare track. There's a reason you don't catch 50 in Queens or New York City as a whole. And like Fat Joe famously said on a 2005 diss track called My Fofo, when 50's in New York, he rolls with the boys in blue. And that's well documented. In conclusion, we can go two ways with Tekashi. One, the kid was a lame on the streets, sold his soul to obtain fame, returns to Brooklyn, and buys acceptance from those street dudes he admired. He wanted to play gangster and use his gang connections as backup for his excessive trolling. Good publicity. Told on himself really, he got caught up and now folded faster than a cheap lawn chair over some pressure. I mean, it's coming out that his driver was informing. Once again, it's playing 6ix9ine's naivete and utter lack of street smarts to allow an informant on his payroll. The other route, he's an agent and infiltrated not only the Trey Gangsters but a network of probably mostly blood affiliated New York rappers. Because of him, Harlem rapper and Dipset alum Jim Jones is being implicated as both a gang member and government informant, which don't look good for him. In the words of 50, who no surprise trolled Jones on Twitter, said, and he said it best, say it ain't so, Jimmy. And I really mean it. No pun intended. If he's number one, I mean, well, let's say Tekashi, if he's the first thing that I said, you know, lame on the streets, all of this shit, right, and folded, all I'm gonna say is he's finished. They better give him witness protection. If he go to jail and do some jail time, it better not be no jail on the East Coast, from Boston to Miami, because Trey Gangsters, sex, money, and murder, money over bitches, gangsta killer bloods, you know what I'm saying? And a whole bunch of other brim sets and shit up and down the I-95, especially in Georgia and the Carolinas. They love that blood shit down there. A lot of New York City Bloods, you know, open up a lot of shops out there in the South. Like I said, they better put them in like Utah, because even West Coast niggas, a lot of blood sets out there be willing to teach Tekashi some gang etiquette. Alright? So, I don't condone crime, alright? Like I said, I didn't really understand the West Coast culture, because to me, killing a bunch of niggas over some colors kind of just seems pointless. I know some niggas was hustling and shit, but it's always just portrayed as a bunch of mad niggas killing each other over some colors and shit. One nigga I respect from LA was Freeway Rick, right? He had good game plan. He wasn't really a blood or a crip, but he supplied both. And disclaimer, I do not condone crime, but that's wishy-washy. Crime's gonna happen. I'd rather it be niggas being businessmen than reckless killers, like the other immigrants and all them other people do. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, let me know. Peace.